The Koalition.
Dana Abercrombie, The Koalition. My question is for Sam Mendes and Olivia Coleman. What I love about Hillary is there's different emotional beats to her character, and especially how she interacts with others. Can you talk about, from an actress standpoint and also from the writer standpoint with Sam, of finding those beats and how she will react in those different states that she is in?
But for me, I grew up watching the cycle of mental illness. You know, the cycle for me watching my mother was that she would be medicated and feel numb. This is certainly what Hillary's journey is. Feel like she somehow wasn't fully in the world. During that time, she would often be taken advantage of by men, or she would form a bit of a crush, and it would bottle up. Then perhaps something would trigger coming off the lithium, coming off the drugs, and she would go through a period of great freedom and joy and exhilaration, like she was high, just really high. And then something would go wrong in that period. It would lead to loss of sleep, and gradually she would start to lose control and descend into the darkness. And that was when it got really serious. And then, you know, one of the things I really wanted to do in the movie was to dramatize the denial you go through when you suffer from mental illness, rather than explain it. You know, I think mental illness remains stigmatized, not talked about properly. It's very difficult to talk about. You know, if you went into hospital with a tumor and came out, I would say, how are you, right? If you go into a mental hospital and you come out having been medicated, I wouldn't say anything, probably. It's still a cloak of awkwardness and not knowing how to talk about it. It's partly because it's a behavioral issue. And for me, the thing I wanted most to dramatize was the fact that you can know you need help and yet fight with every fiber of your being to not be taken into a mental hospital. So the scene I'm talking about is that she is fighting, she will not let them in, and yet she has packed her bag. And to me, that's what the show don't tell theory of, you know, that's what I wanted to dramatize. I wanted you to be able to understand that both of those things can be believed absolutely and not contradict each other, right? So that for me was the hub of the whole Hillary journey. And then after that, coming out, having been medicated again, feeling humiliated, remembering everything you went through, feeling shame, and trying to put your life back together again. That was the cycle. And my job with Olivia was to make sure that every notch in that journey was hit, and that we knew exactly where we were in that cycle, and how those little moments manifested themselves, whether it was more eye makeup, no washing of the hair, different clothes, you know, but, you know, or absolute certainty. I mean, one of my favorite moments is the moment that Stephen tries to help her and says, you know, tries to say, it's an illness, it's not your fault. And she just laughs in his face. But she's gone past that point where she can have a coherent conversation with anyone about it. It's too far gone. So those things were all from my own memory, and I tried to communicate them to Olivia as best I could, so she could give that journey life. What I felt was she did it so well, and at times I found it almost impossible to watch, you know, because it actually triggered memories in me of that experience when I was little, of watching someone fall apart. And I think particularly in that apartment scene when she gets taken away, I found that really kind of it was cathartic on one level. On another level, I wanted to run away. Anyway, that's a very long answer, but you know.
I mean, from my point of view, Sam made my job so easy that, you know, as I think I said earlier, but every moment I could ask him, and he was so clear and made himself so vulnerable, was very honest about everything he'd seen, and he makes a very safe environment, so you feel trusted and looked after, and you can absolutely let rip, and he will help you every step of the way. So it really did make and I think for all of us, he made the right environment for us all to do what we needed to do.